Audio on demand from Vision Christian Media.
You're listening to Momentum, a show that helps men succeed in life. And as we delve into this week's topic, a reminder that some of the content may be of a sensitive nature. Now, here's your host, Des Kennedy. You're listening to Momentum, a show that helps men succeed in life. And as we delve into this week's topic, a reminder that some of the content may be of a sensitive nature. Now, here's your hosts, Tim and Des.
Hi there, I'm Des Kennedy.
And I'm Timothy Charles. Every week we're going to be talking about topics that affect us all as men, things like being a husband, a father, money, health, faith, and also looking at some of the things that we struggle with too, things like depression, suicide, substance abuse, and pornography.
To help, we have created the website momentumaustralia.org, where you can get info on a whole range of topics, and you can also reach out and get online support.
And if you need to talk to someone urgently, please reach out through Beyond Blue and Lifeline, or you can leave a message on the website.
That website again, momentumaustralia.org. We look forward to hearing from you and having you join us each week as we explore topics to help you on your journey.
Well, it is Tim and Des once again for Momentum. Des, nice to have you in the studio with me.
Great to be here.
Thanks for joining me.
Yeah.
And look, we've got an amazing testimony about to unfold for us today. It is a bit of a sensitive nature, and so we're just going to call this amazing man Ian, and Ian is going to share his story and testimony with us, and also some really important things that he's journeyed through, which I'm sure men can relate to at some degree as we journey through. So, Ian, welcome to Momentum officially. A bit of your backstory that will give us some context to some of the things that you've journeyed through since then. You spent 14 years working for the US government in various conflict zones. I suppose then tell us a bit about your story of journeying into getting into the army. What was the motivation for that? How old were you? You know, let's start, I suppose, painting the picture and filling in the blanks, so to speak.
Sure. Obviously, I'm Australian, even though some people might get a bit confused with spending so long in the US. I was in the Australian Commonwealth Protective Services, and I used to look after. I was part of quite a few people that looked after dignitaries when they would come to visit in Australia. So I was very young. I was very lucky to be in that position. I got the opportunity to look after a certain person from American Commonwealth, which is the FBI, and he held quite a high chair over there, and we became pen pals, so to speak. Back in those days, we would email back and forth, and I got the opportunity to look after his family when they came to Australia for a holiday, and got to know him quite well, and took him up to a location. It was actually up near Noosa. And I had a holiday because I was quite young, but it was a very important job, but it was a lovely trip. Yeah. And he said, would you consider coming to work underneath me in America? And I accepted. It just sounded exciting to me at that age. Of course. Within 6 months, I was in Washington, and I was working directly underneath this gentleman who then moved me into the State Department. And so began my journey of working on American soil, so to speak.
So tell me about then the transition from moving into conflict. Like, tell me about that transition and what did that actually look like when you were in conflict?
So what it was is the UN and the US, when there was money injected in, like aid money injected in foods, goods, medical aids, and normally it was quite a lot of money for infrastructure, would be injected back into a zone that had a conflict or a natural disaster. I would normally follow the money. So it's a bit hard to understand, but I would be sent in and follow where the money went or the aid went to make sure that it went to the right place.
Sure, cool.
And or identify those people that were taken, which normally was the case, which is why I was there. I was looking for basically people that would take the cash, take the goods, and identify that and send that information back to the state so that they could deal with those people.
Right. And so tell us a bit about some of those situations, obviously without going into too much detail, but what effect did that have on you when you were put in situations like that?
It was very confusing because my career started basically in Africa, and there was a lot happening through the greater area. So to see the value of life to be so minimalized, I mean, being marginalized meant nothing over there. There was no margin. You were either the strong or the weak. There was no hierarchy. You simply won or you lost. And to see villages and townships completely eradicated and genocide performed, it wasn't even eye-opening. I think I went instantly numb, if that can make sense. Like I was probably in a shock, as if to go, well, that's not normal, if that makes sense. Like, I mean, you wouldn't think. You think I'd be prepared, but I don't know if you can be prepared for that sort of thing, to actually go in and go, well, okay, so I've got the material here. This says that there should be 600 people in this village. I'm looking at this. There's no one here to receive any of this stuff. I don't get it, and then to come to grasp with what's actually happened, and then to talk to people and go, well, no, they were all killed last week, is surreal. It's information that you really can't absorb, and it's very hard to sort of understand.
Especially having come from Australia, and my lifestyle in Australia to face that sort of thing. It'd be crazy.
I don't think you could prepare, Des.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything you could really do. And I think same with emergency services personnel, with police and ambulance. They train them so well. They try to get them ready, but I don't think you can truly prepare for your first event until you're actually there. And it's your support network that gets you through later on. Obviously, I didn't have a support network. I was on my own.
Let's start with the first time that you experienced something like that. How did you deal with that? And then tell us then about how that progressed over, you said you spent 14 years in that space. So tell us about then that spiral from there and the effect that took on you over that period of time.
Great question, mate. Basically what happened for me was I had one traumatic event, and then I had a next one the next day, then the next day, then the next day, and that continued for about a month.
Wow.
So what I saw in that village, I didn't get a time truly to process and actually unpack and then speak with people about. So I was like, oh my gosh. It's like when you see something, it's like, what is going on? Like, this is like, I need to call back and find out what's going on. This is actually right. I've got like briefcases of money. I've got food and airplanes coming in. There's no one here. I don't understand. And then next minute, I get a call that I've got to move over to this next location. I move there and something similar has taken place. What I've learned over time is scenarios were templated in my head. If you have a template that you might use for talking with people like me, or you have a program guide, I basically, from that first event, had this template formed in my head of value of life as a scenario and a situation that happened. Then I had another one go on top, then another one go on top, and then another one go on top. So I had this base template that I was operating off of what I thought was the norm in that particular location, and I didn't really get time to speak it out and to unpack what I'd seen or done. So it just became a way of life that they lived over there. That's what I accepted.
What was the moment where it all came crashing down in it and you had to get out?
I did that work, the contract work for contract negotiations, they called it, which is a lovely title. I did, no business card though. I did that work for just over 2 years. For the last remaining 12 years, my work style escalated. My work changed, whereas I was then on to the small teams work that actually went out and dealt with the people who had taken the money. My work environment changed dramatically and escalated to a level where I was actually able to liaise and deal with the people that were wanted, so to speak, largely by the UN and US. So the first couple of years were complex. The last 12 years of my employment was complex, to say the least. How I got out, one day I actually got truly scared. I had a moment where it was a different type of fear. I experienced fear in many, many normal ways. This particular place, I can say I was actually in Iraq, and I actually got properly scared, and in my head I'd say, I can't be here anymore. I can't do this anymore. I actually can't be here. So it was the weirdest feeling, like I just had to get out. I had to be out. And it's been explained to me that I had a moment of where I've come back to myself in reality. My head and emotions had collided, and I was spiraling horribly. I went back to Washington and requested my resignation. Mind you, I did find out as I handed it in that there were tallies on what year I was going to die in.
Oh, wow.
If this gives an example of my workload. So my normal team men, my normal people that would work with me, it'd be a year to 2 years. They would either die in action or they would retire from the job, have to leave. So I did that sort of work for 12 years. If that can give you an idea of the type of lifestyle that I lived. And of course, once the PTSD and depression set in, then it became, I became someone who I thought I just hated everyone. But what it was I thought everyone was silly. I thought everyone was crazy. Everyone is so stupid back here. I was so dizzy, but it was actually me. It was me that couldn't relate to anyone. I couldn't hear what people were saying, and that's because I had no emotion. I was absolutely numb. My emotion was not working. It was gone. It had been removed. And I had no time to share with people. I just had no space for them, and I headed into a horrible spiral of negativity, depression, my worth. I can't go back to that world anymore because now I need glasses. So for me, I'm non-operational, so I'm no good for the work that I used to do because you need glasses. You're no good in the field if you need glasses, mate. You need clear eyesight. All these things were going through my head. So now I'm good for nothing. I can't do this. I'm angry with everyone. This is just stupid. I had lots of money. So I was doing all sorts of silly things, and I was completely unstable, 100% unstable and undiagnosed at that stage as an Australian citizen.
Yeah.
So how did that change for you, Ian? What was the moment in the spiral where you hit the ground, if you like, and all of a sudden you're like, I need to do something about this. This is not good.
It was actually in Brisbane. Got to a point of a suicidal thoughts and alcoholism, and I reached out to the Keith Payne unit at Greenslopes in Brisbane, which is the Veterans Mental Health Clinic at Greenslopes there, and that began my journey of understanding the fact that my head was broken from what I'd been through.
You're listening to Momentum with Tim and Des, and our special guest today is a guy we're going to call Ian. We're not going to reveal his name due to the sensitive and dangerous work that he undertook with the US State Department. But we are going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll talk to Ian about his PTSD and some of the ways in which he's recovered and managed to find some level of peace. That's coming up shortly with myself and Des right here on Momentum.
This is Momentum. Find out more at momentumaustralia.org. You're listening to Momentum, a show that helps men succeed in life. Find out more at momentumaustralia.org.
If this program has highlighted something you'd like prayer for, we'd love to pray for you. Call 1-800-PRAY-FOR-ME. That's 1-800-772-936. It's a free call. Or text 0401 132 888.
You're listening to Momentum, a show that helps men succeed in life. Find out more at momentumaustralia.org. You're listening to Momentum, a show that helps men succeed in life.
This is Momentum with Tim and Des, and today our special guest we're going to call Ian. We're not identifying him more than that due to the extremely sensitive and dangerous position that Ian held within the US State Department. But in the first half of our chat, Ian filled us in on what his work looked like and how that led to him developing PTSD. Now we're going to explore some of the ways that Ian has found some peace and some healing since then. Ian, I know that faith is now a part of your life, so let me jump in at this spot and say, was faith a part of your life here, or was it through this journey that you reached out to something bigger than yourself because you realized you couldn't do this journey on your own?
Faith is my life, Tim. Faith is, it's not part of, it is. So I met with Jesus before I went overseas. I was born in Fiji, which is basically a Christian country, really. The church was their lifestyle over there. So I was raised in that lifestyle. I used to go to church with Mum in Australia, Anglican church, used to go to Sunday school. I finally met Jesus in a personal relationship at the age of 22. Took a while for me to come to him. And I walked away, obviously, during that career because I became so distant from him with what I was going through that I became so logical it had to be my way or the highway. I was unable to hear him anymore because it had to be done by me, and we all know where that leads to. I started blocking him out. I couldn't hear him anymore, and the spiral sort of started away from my faith. 2009, I came back to the Lord here in Australia, in Brisbane. It was just the most magical moment because I just thought He wouldn't want me back. I thought I'd done so much wrong. I'd been so terrible, so horrible that I thought, why would He want me back? I'm so dirty.
Yeah.
I didn't belong. And He called me back in such a beautiful, soft way, as He always does, and communicate with you. And I fell back onto Him. But He was very specific about the journey that I would have unpacking what I went through. And this is a very important part where I always prayed for a miracle because I don't sleep much still. I have intrusions during the daytime constantly, all day long, of things where I've been and what's happened. Sight, smell and sounds can set them off in themes. So I get a lot of intrusions during the day. I've been praying for a miracle constantly. Lord, please take this from me. I can't serve you this broken. And as clear as a bell one day, He said, Ian, this miracle is not for you. Oh, you could have knocked me over with a feather.
Yeah.
I was broken. I just went, He's not going to remove him from me. He said, but I will take you through every healing of every part of your journey so that you can bring life to every area of trauma. So I will bring you out of all of your traumas. I'll give you healing in all of your traumas, but you will speak back to those areas of darkness with pure light so that you can tell people that there is a way out of it. It is doable.
Wow. Ian, there will be people listening who perhaps are doing some treatment regarding PTSD or something like that, or, they're coming out of alcohol or struggling with depression or those sorts of things. And, there are those things in place that we can offer as far as doctors and treatments and medication and things like that. Can you help us through the balance of how much does that help versus then when you have a faith and you also allow the Lord into that space? Do the two complement each other? For someone who might be wrestling now because they're in this, they're on a treatment system or a plan and they're getting some degree of breakthrough, but they're not fully free yet.
Mate, that is absolutely a sensational question, really. So this is where, people love to, if you're in faith, you go, but you don't need doctors. If you're with doctors, you go, why do you need the Lord? You're always going to have your debate. So this is my journey only. So the Lord blesses people to be able to be doctors, to help people, to save people. And the Lord gifts people certain talents, but the Lord can create miracles and do miracles. This was my journey. My journey was, I didn't know what to pray about because I was in depression and I was in denial, or I was drunk, or I was unable to come up with a process of rational thought. So for those people who say you may not need doctors, I utilize the skill of the doctor to tell me, Ian, do you realize that you're getting angry every time I talk about going shopping? I go, no, I'm not. And they would go, well, you actually are. And I go, well, I don't know why. And then we'll drill down to the fact that I just didn't like the crowds and the shopping trolleys. I know it sounds weird, but it reminded me of a mess hall and having to line up and just little things like that. She drilled down and found something so small. And I went, wow. I left her office. I stepped outside and I went, Lord, I'm right here. You've heard that conversation. Come on now. What's the thing with the shopping trolleys? It's killing me, right? And I would take the specific issue to him as I found it. So I utilized the two together. The Lord is always there, but the skill of the doctor actually opened up my mind to allow me to sharpen my prayer to Jesus.
I think it's lovely the way you talk about your prayer life with Christ and the fact that it is such a deep one-on-one conversation. And a lot of us forget that and forget that He is our friend. He is our comfort. So I think it's a very joyous thing. Yeah.
Indeed. And I think I truly appreciated that more when in my prayer life, the conversation got very personal.
Yeah.
So when I actually became vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because I become so encapsulated in myself that I didn't know how to call for help because I was always the help.
Ian, I love that so much.
Yeah.
When you encapsulate everything that you've talked about and the journey that you've been on, that's the hope at the end of that, to go, I can see that now. and there is healing and freedom from this. Now, admittedly, as we've talked about throughout the journey, it is a mix of seeing professionals, getting the right people on your team, making sure you've got supportive people around you, whether that's family and or friends. And of course, for you as well, including the faith aspect, and together, there's a really holistic approach there in finding healing and freedom from the stuff that's, like you said, that's held you back because you were stuck in that space. So I suppose to the listeners listening right now, there is hope, there is encouragement. You've heard Ian's story. Ian, we thank you for sharing yours with us, with Des and I, and our listeners today from Momentum. It's been an absolute pleasure and a joy having you on the show.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. I truly am blessed to actually have the opportunity to speak about the glory of the Lord, and also speak about the positivity of finding a way out of darkness.
Yes.
So it is doable. Everything's doable through Jesus.
Amen. That's true.
Awesome. Excellent.
Thanks so much, Ian. It's been really good.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Momentum, a show that helps men succeed in life. For more information or to hear this week's show again, go to momentumaustralia.org. You can also access a whole range of resources to help you on your journey and to get in touch with the team at momentumaustralia.org. Until next time, keep moving forward with Momentum. You've been listening to Momentum, a show that helps men succeed in life. For more information or to hear this week's show again, go to momentumaustralia.org. You can also access a whole range of resources to help you on your journey and to get in touch with the team at momentumaustralia.org.